So tell me about, just real quick, how often do you get back?
I try to go back about once a year, sometimes once every 2 years. There have been bigger gaps. But I still have all my family there. My parents, I still have a grandma, my sister. So.
Okay. Do they come here pretty often, or do they ever get
Not
to get here?
I've had my sister come, but my family has some health issues, so harder to travel. But I try to make it back there and obviously see them.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Has your family, your kids gotten to go?
Yes, and even last time I went with my daughter. My son is in the dog sitting beauty. Also building a business today.
Yeah. Sort of important.
Yes. But I try to go back. But, now this community, for somebody who was a complete city girl, grew up in a capital city, and then lived in Pittsburgh for 12 years, Clarkson's definitely a different vibe. Sure. Not a lot of sidewalks in general. Yeah. I mean, in the city there are, but I'm getting used to, after almost living 12 years here, I'm getting to.
Because it's so much more car-based, being out here in the suburbs. Yeah, I'm sure those cities are more walkable.
Yes, small towns, their own charm.
Yeah.
Everything's accessible. I mean, Clarkson's such a great location, and then my husband's roots are from here, so he's born and raised, went to Clarkson High School, and so on.
That's right. We talked about this. When did he graduate? What's his?
97.
97. Okay. Yeah. That's not your year, Katie, but it's close. He's in between us.
Yeah. Okay, that's his brother's graduation year.
Oh, okay.
Nice. No, maybe a little bit later, but yeah.
Well, we're glad you landed here and you found your way here.
Yeah.
We like that. So so you're big into art, obviously, and photography and all sorts. Has this always been a passion, or is this like a...
So photography was I've always been creative, and photography was my first love, and my dad was a hobbyist photographer. And then when I moved here, obviously with kids, a lot of moms, that's what we get into. And now with cell phones, it's so much easier to take photos, but I was here when film was still around and people were questioning if digital was going to happen. But a hobby kind of led into starting a little side hustle. And then when I moved to Michigan, I kind of ended up pursuing photographing weddings. Now I'm mostly focused on branding high school seniors. Kind of headshots about those kind of things.
So branding, are you finding businesses find you? Are you going to conventions, or how do you find these businesses?
So I mostly end up through social referrals. Like either people find me online, which is actually not that often, which I find more with conversations, previous clients, referrals, and then having to fill in when I get tired of people, then I just draw and paint. Where I don't want to go outside in bad weather, then I shift my focus to my other business, which is design, stationery design, and creating greeting cards, creating wedding invitations, and it all kind of started with a sticker, really.
Let's talk about that sticker. I'm going to mess it up again, but I'm going to start here. Here's the original, right? This is your...
it's one of the originals,
Well...
The sunflower, a little sunflower.
What do you mean this is your original?
So I painted some clip art, and I was like, I love sunflowers. I didn't think it's anything extraordinary, and it hit at the right place in the right time, and kind of exploded and went up to so it's probably so far sold about 40,000 units. So, but it's on a it originally was on a print on demand site called Redbubble, which is still there. Now it's also available through my stores on Zazzle.
Okay, so that's amazing. I feel like you've said a lot of things before we started talking. You're on all sorts of...
Correct.
How do you keep track of everywhere your art is?
So I have my landing. Let's land on my design website, which is Agate and Lace.
That's on the back of one of these cards, right?
It's back of this one.
Okay.
This little Frenchie, kind of not to the dog I wanted, but also not to a puppy I used to have.
What's the name?
Agate and Lace.
Agate and Lace. Okay.
And that hub kind of has the links to everywhere my things are. One of the bigger things are Minted, which is this amazing company that sells some greeting cards in Target. It gave me an opportunity to be in Target, so having 3 cards in Target. And it also gave me an opportunity for a while to have artwork in West Elm. So it's a company that sells mostly, they're known for wedding invitations, really big in bride industry, and then holiday cards and Christmas cards, and it's all sourced through competitions from artists around the world. So it has just this amazing supportive community of artists, and they have like a conference once a year, and we get together.
I saw your conference.
Yes.
And it looked like they had different activities.
Yes.
I'm trying to think what you guys
Classes.
were painting or...
Yeah, we were doing some watercolors, and it was in Sedona. No, not in Sedona, in Scottsdale, Arizona. They're based out of San Francisco. We've had a conference in San Francisco, and it's just amazing community, super supportive, which I've always loved painting and doodling, and started designing really by being completely naive. Being like, I think I can do this, and then seeing the caliber of some of the other artists. But through some luck, had a few pieces picked, which gave me the drive to really learn. And I really don't want to say I'm self-taught, because kudos to all the artists that put so much information online and kind of help you out with how to do like the simplest things.
And maybe I missed it just because I was back and forth, but do you have 3 cards in Target right now?
Correct.
And which 3 cards are they? Did you guys already
talk about this one, right?
That one is a Valentine's Day card. It is not in Target anymore.
Okay.
It is still on Minted.com, can be purchased. Currently, it is a congrats card.
Okay.
And I think you had it, you were gracious enough to send it out in one of your emails.
Yeah, I think, did I go take
Yeah.
a picture of it, or you sent us a
I
picture?
sent you the
Yes.
photo. And this one is one of the other ones, which is an anniversary card.
So how does that work? Every time somebody buys your card, do you get like a royalty from it?
Correct.
So
yes, that's so. There's different ways of artists making money, but a lot of them will be either a buyout when the company buys out and you get a lump sum up front, or in Minted's case, it's kind of a mix. You get some money if it's selected, and then you get some royalty.
So if you're looking to support Ilze, you're going to see your name, right?
Yes,
On
and
the
they're
back of the
also a
card.
great company, because they will put the artists, promote artists, and so they have a nice big stretch in Target, so like greeting cards,
very
and
cool.
some profits, like parts of the profits go to the artists as well. So.
That's good. I mean, I guess that when you walk into any kind of greeting card situation, like, I have no idea how they get there, who does them, you know.
Yeah.
Well, some companies hire artists in-house, so you work for some bigger company, and you just go ahead and greeting card business is really not an easy business, because it's dominated by a couple of really big players, and then very small percentages left to all the smaller players. And I'm really happy that Minted, kind of has gone into it.
So this is a competition every time, though, between artists for whatever they're looking for?
Yeah, so they currently, we had like recently for graduation announcements, because they also have their online store that is very broad. So you would have like cards that have photos, or you can personalize. This is not on Minted.
I do think I've done my Christmas cards through Minted before.
Yeah. They have some great deals coming up, obviously, Black Friday. But some of the other ones, I'll end up doing on something like Zazzle, which is a print-on-demand site. This is another one through Minted, but directly on their site.
Okay, so some are at Target and some are on their site. That you
Correct.
run. Okay.
Correct.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Hooray. You did it.
All kind of glitters, anything that
Cute.
sparkles. And then some of my other options end up going to print-on-demand sites like Zazzle, where you also can, it's not competition-based, you can submit your designs, or you can select from a ton of designs other designers have done, but then you personalize it so you can add your name, just like you would do in any
Yeah.
site. So I'll end up designing like where the photo is gonna go, or what fonts are gonna be used,
Yeah.
or sometimes like an illustration, like a little owl.
And then with your photography business.
Yes.
Now, do you do family photos for people? Do you
Yes.
help them create Christmas cards? Do you print them through Minted?
I
Tell us about
don't.
that side of you.
I don't. Well, let's see.
I
You
know.
should have
What's
like a
the
full
question?
service.
Yeah.
I offer family photos. I'll photograph mostly on location. I have a very small home studio and a dog, so I usually don't have clients in the house. But I photograph families, and for those, I mostly they get some digital files. They can purchase prints if they want to, or get like files that have the print release, and then they can print on canvases or display stuff. And I highly encourage for people to print, because I think statistics are something crazy, like 80% of the photos don't last past 5 years because devices fall,
Right,
and you end up just losing or forgetting passwords, and it just becomes digital dust somewhere.
The other day we were talking to John Ransom from
Yeah.
Winship, and he
Yeah.
was talking about with his packages,
Yeah.
it is you print, and then you can have the digital file.
Yeah.
He
For that,
requires
yeah.
people to buy the prints. I think for the exact same reason.
Yeah, the majority of photographers are in that camp because you're putting work in it. It's kind of, this is who you are in that moment, you know?
Yeah.
So, and we as photographers try to tell that story,
Yeah.
like very much present to, so you kind of have, like if I do high school senior photos, this is who you are. I mean, when Ellen was around and they would have like, look back and have crazy hairdos.
Yes.
I mean, but that snapshot in your,
Yeah.
it's not you can look at it as embarrassing, but it's the snapshot of who you are in that moment.
Yeah,
You're
you
just
don't
like,
lose the moment.
yeah.
Because your phone died.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you look in the essence, we're gonna come back to how it was with your grandparents, where there's like 3 photos, right? You're like the ones that you printed.
That's funny,
Like, because
yeah.
if you look, I had like books initially when I started with burnt CDs. I had books of backup CDs for like client work. And I'm like, if you, like, there are computers that don't have CD-ROM anymore.
yeah.
It's just like, you have to buy another thing or
That's
send
right.
it to digitize.
That's a great point.
I actually had this great experience with my kids. I had this 8mm video thing, and I was like, I think there's maybe like 3 hours or something. So I found these tapes and took them to get digitized, and they called me and they're like, there's 12 hours of footage. Which
boy.
I looked and I was like, I obviously was there, but I have no memory of like being able to, like, being somewhere at like a farmer's market.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
Very cool.
So,
So if people want to have like family pictures taken for
Yeah.
Christmas cards, is there still time? It's almost, I mean, we're getting so
you,
close.
for majority of photography, you'll say it's tight. Like, I will probably take a few more clients on, but I would not take a big rush, just because I want to make sure that I edit, and usually I edit within week to 2 weeks, depending on how busy I am. And I want to make sure that you have time to order, because the thing with ordering Christmas cards, right, you order, it could have a misprint, or you could have like something happen and you don't want to send it out that way. And then to redo it as it gets closer and closer. I mean, you can pick a funny card. There's plenty of cards like, whoops, we're not late, we're just early for next year. So you get the card in January or March. There are people who will do New Year's cards to
Yeah.
kind of give that extra week, or will do Valentine's Day cards. So kind of don't want to deal with that whole holiday mess and just kind of lean into
They
following
make-
holidays.
They make their procrastination look like it was planned.
Yes.
Yes.
I love that. That's very
Yeah.
intentional.
So, and also like card, there's so many funny saying card. I know fellow designers who are so, tongue in cheek, and
Yeah.
it will be like, we're having fun, and the kids are just screaming in a photo. You just go like, well, this is what we have to work with.
Yeah.
Like, this is it.
It's real. Well, thinking of like funny things that we
Yeah.
were talking earlier, I love this card. I know it's not in
Yeah.
rotation, but it cracks me up. It says, "Congratulations on your brand new little human." Instructions inside when you open it. Who are we kidding? Nobody reads the instructions, but I'm only a phone call away. But
Yes.
so you're saying you made this. This is your copy.
That's correct.
Right?
So yeah, that's
So clever.
the copy is also something. Yeah.
You get to do the copy on all of it, or is it? Like
So I will do copy, and it's usually because otherwise you're kind of encountering fine art of figuring out the copyright. So there's quotes you can use of usually the rule of thumb is 50 years or 75 years after an artist is dead. So you could use certain things that have expired their copyright. However, it's a fine line because there are people who will then copyright certain things or trademark them. So coming up with the original is
like
sometimes
phrase?
better.
Can any phrase be copyrighted? Like
As usually it has to be 7 words or more. So while if you look at, for example, Nike's Just Do It, it's more of a trademark. So it's there's variety. What it falls under is intellectual property. So I had that sunflower sticker, and it had been screenshotted and reproduced without my permission.
your original one.
So this was actually like somebody just went online when it was really, really popular and swiped a whole bunch of artists' work and created, in Asia knockoffs, and then you're having this kind of whack-a-mole because it's produced in Asia, and then you're just dealing with sellers saying this is copyright infringement. You can't reproduce my work, and I don't get paid. So.
Right.
But I would say don't get scared of that if anybody's like an artist that wants to do it. It's part of the business. Especially in the first few times, it could be just such a gut punch, but it's not personal.
Then you get used to it.
It's you know how people go like it's on Google, just take it. It's not quite that.
There's a minute attached to it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I think one of the things I wanted to ask you about too is just your involvement in Clarkson. I feel like with the chamber, I think I see you everywhere at like every event, every ribbon cutting.
I literally said to Kate, we were at the Honeycomb on Saturday night listening to Jackie Pappas. I was like, where's Ilze?
She thought she saw you at one point. It was like a mirage.
That's like false memories. I was not here. And I was kind of sad I missed them holiday market that Chamber had because he's moving my child to Florida. But I think Chamber has done amazing things.
When did you first join? How long?
I actually am not active member right now.
Okay.
But I am also I'm involved with Clarkson Arts, and
Other
Chamber is such an amazing organization to promote everything local.
Yeah.
And where I really have kind of gotten into with is Social Circle and at the co-working space on Main Street. And that's also one of the, projects with Chamber. And I'm 100% super supportive. I was a member for a while, and with wedding industry, it wasn't kind of my things. And a lot of design work, it's not my audience.
Yeah.
However, just love all kinds of events that they're putting on. So pretty close. Not all of them. I try to pick in, and I think that one of the things is having a unique name and kind of that thing that's when you start going places, people just kind of catch that you're there, and then you're like, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, when we ran into, not when we ran into, you won one of our giveaways.
First one.
Yeah.
First one.
Giveaway at
Clarkson High School. Oh, that Hilltop was the thing, but we met at Clarkson High
Who was
School.
with you?
Oh, it was my another Latvian friend that came visiting.
Yes, and so she was telling us everything about you, and she's like, Ilze is too modest. She's not going to tell you all the details. But too bad she's not here because
I am really, really lucky to have amazing supportive friends, and I think that's one of the things that drew me into Minted community. Art, and there's Clarkson Arts. These are people who artists want to support other artists. It's a lot of. It's not this they buy mine, they won't buy yours.
Yes.
You want to kind of lift the people and it comes around. I feel like people think like, oh, if I help you, how is this going to help me?
Right.
But in a way, it's just kind of very symbiotic. I feel like there's, and speaking of chambers, speaking of Clarkson Arts, I mean, Clarkson Arts just had one fundraiser with Clarkson Village Players, and money goes towards having scholarships for our community students. So we give away a scholarship that's $1,000 towards a senior going into the arts, and then we have a couple of smaller scholarships for kids who are going and having like summer camps in arts or like whatever. It's not just visual arts, it's dance and theater, and so it's a small organization, but we're here, you know.
It's called Clarkson Arts?
Yes, Clarkson Arts, yeah. It was Clarkson Cultural Arts for a while, but it currently is operating as Clarkson Arts.
And
but
if people, I think we're interested in that and don't
Yeah.
know a lot about it.
Yes.
Yes.
And how do people find out more about it?
So there is a website, it's
Okay.
clarksonarts.org.
Okay.
Yes.
Very tricky.
Is that okay? So we talked about this many times. You know, on the wall, they're actually redoing it now. There used to be all the kids' artwork on the wall in the parking lot.
So that one is curated by Clarkson Schools and its students. And so we, at the last unveiling, we actually awarded our scholarships, one of the unveilings. And then Clarkson Arts was involved with that mural that's between, is it Woodshop and the little boutique on the side? Yes. So that was that's one of the artists that was involved with Clarkson Arts. So there are things that, you know, certain touch points. There's also on the corner of Walden and Main.
Yeah.
And building all the artwork that you see in the windows,
Yes,
it's managed. There's a couple of paintings of mine that are there.
I was like, every time I go by, I'm like, I would love to like buy one of these pieces.
Please do
How
them.
do you do it? Okay,
So there's
So
actually
is it the old Tierras building?
The old Tierras
Yeah.
building.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that building open or?
the building is not open to public. I
Okay.
believe. I don't know what the plans are, but it is being used for some storage and things. But they're gracious enough to let us have artwork in there.
Okay.
And
How do you buy it?
How do you buy it?
Yeah.
So, how do you buy it? I believe there is a QR code that will link you to, it should be by the paintings, it should have a post there. However, if you go to Clarkson Arts and reach out through our contact, we will definitely tell you anything you want to know about the artists and the pricing and everything else. So,
We've been talking about this for months.
Yes.
I feel like we
Who
just solved
is
the
the
mystery.
artist? Like,
yeah, I saw one of the pieces there. It was like a bigger kind of watery looking abstract, and that was one of mine. So.
Probably was the one I wanted. Okay.
Okay. Well, do custom work. but yeah, it supports. It's kind of a funny thing because artists a lot of time, and I think also a lot of entrepreneurs work very much singularly at home. And sometimes it gets really lonely. And having these communities, whether it's a chamber, whether it's Clarkson Arts, at least you have touch points where you go like meet other grown-ups. Especially if you have young children, which I don't have anymore, but it's like you go out and you have like-minded people that encounter, like in design. I mean, there's definitely benefits of social media, but I think we thought that it's going to be like, solve it all, you don't have to go out in the world.
Okay.
But in a way, we are just such creatures of wanting to see another person and engage and have a reaction that has an emotion and a face behind it, and like having that tactile
the connection. You gotta have the connection.
because you type a comment, like sometimes I get the text message and I'm like, should I be worried or is this sarcastic? Like there's no punctuation. Now there's art to punctuations, which I check in with my kids and I was like, what does this mean? I was like, there's something about don't put period at the end of the text.
Really?
So somebody was like, it sounds aggressive. I was like, okay. So I was like, I need to know more about this. But when you talk, you know, you're there. You you're connecting. You're connecting to people in real life, and you kind of feel the vibe. Whether it works or not, then you move on and talk to somebody else.
It won't ever go away. Like, the communication. Well, I was going to ask, is Clarkson Arts connected to the conservatory, Clarkson Conservatory?
We actually, the Harmony in a Park was, the conservatory, I think, might have been involved. Kinder music was involved with, but one of the things we also put in the summer is Harmony in a Park, where there was Harmony in a farm one year, and it's musicians coming, it's a free event, and kids come and get to like build an instrument, and it's usually geared to like pre-school children, but also maybe a younger grade, and has a lot of fun. And so we support any kind of art form, like theater and music, and we have some musicians. There's some local band. I mean, you would think for such a small town, there's just such amazing bands here.
There are some great artists.
Great
I
musicians.
did just see, Jessica Spencer, who was on our recorded
Yes.
podcast a while ago, and she just opened up her like business networking thing next to her office.
Okay.
And I think that there is a music, like Clarkston music business going in right there.
Oh, wow.
So there's another
Yeah.
interesting Clarkston thing happening. Yeah.
I feel like it's such a great thing once you're in the one beauty of like small communities, and so like I had such an experience for most of my life living in large cities where it's hum around you, but in a way you kind of have anonymity. Where here you're very much, you start knowing one community that's linked to another community that's linked to another community, and it's just such a network where you sometimes don't even know how everybody's connected. But there's, especially in a smaller town, and it seems like very supportive and very involved in parts.
Well, we did our recorded podcast yesterday with Robert from Rudy's, which is coming out in a couple weeks. We were talking about that exact thing. Like, we were talking about he's been in the community for 30 years, and I met him 30 years ago, but then I was like, oh, remember so-and-so? The connections aren't 6 degrees here. It feels like they're a lot closer.
They're like 3.
Yeah, I said this before, but I'm going to stick with it until it sticks. But it's like the 1 or 2 degrees of separation from a Bruin.
Okay, that's what it is.
Like,
Okay, tell me the Bruin.
Aunt's family.
Oh,
That's my maiden name. Yeah.
What,
There were a
there's
lot of
8
us.
boys?
There were 7 boys.
7 boys.
Okay, well that's easy to start a connection and geometric
Works,
progression.
One racial separation.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, the town too, though, lends itself to that. Like,
Yes.
everything feels very connected in some way, and it's nice that people who come from all over the place can feel that connection, eventually too.
Yeah.
It's just neat.
Were you in Latvia
Yes.
recently?
I was this summer visiting my family. Yes.
Because I think I was watching some Instagram posts you were doing, and
Yeah.
it almost felt like the Olympics. Or what was happening?
Okay, so what's happening is this amazing thing that we do every 5 years, and it's Song and Dance Festival. And so we went to grand rehearsal for a final concert, which had 12,000 choir members singing
Latvia, so I can.
Latvia, it's
Yes.
small.
Is that everybody? Is that
So no, not there.
Okay.
But it is. So Latvia is about just around 1.9 million. So not a lot of people.
size-wise?
Size-wise, about half of Michigan.
Okay.
It's small. It's relatively small. It's on the Baltic Sea. Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. It's like 3 countries. They were initial 3 that kind of broke the Soviet Union apart, and the people have been around for a very, very long time. Our neighbors, Lithuanians, their language is considered one of the oldest languages in the world. There was an article a while back saying that Adam and Eve spoke Lithuanian. It's really close to Sanskrit. Our language is, the only 2 similar are Latvian and Lithuanian. And it's these old languages and these old cultures that kind of, in a funny way, absorb other languaes because we conjugate our words so we can add an ending to an American or like to an English or German word and just make up a word.
Like Spanglish in a way.
In a way, yeah.
English or whatever you call it.
Well, it's a dynamic language because I have met immigrants who have come here during World War I or World War II, and in a way it preserves that snapshot of language. You kind of notice, turns of phrases or sayings that we don't actively use anymore. Plus having some, background being part of Soviet Union for a while, absorbing Russian into some slang words, and so to them it seems probably interesting of how I speak. And then I also, like my Latvian friend that you met, we speak more like a Spang Latvian or like English Latvian because we ebb and flow. Like sometimes you will find a turn of phrase that really captures the essence of what you're trying to say. So we'll, pepper it in. We think like if our Latvian families would hear this, would be like.
Yeah.
I don't know how this will translate as recording, but can you like speak a little? I don't know that I've ever.
Well, maybe teach us. Can you teach us how to say like good morning or something?
So
basic?
one of the easiest would be like saying hi would be spaki.
Spaki.
Yeah.
That sounds Greek to me.
Yeah.
Spaki would be like hi. It's more informal. It's not like good morning. It's like hey, hello.
Hey.
Yeah, the kind of. But the aid is my husband of 12 years. He's like intent to learn things, and he learns few words, and then it conjugates and it changes like endings, and he goes, "What are you?" It's one of the harder languages to learn. My daughter understands it. She speaks very little. My son, but there was a gap. We didn't go back, so he just knows a few words. But
so there was this big festival. Sorry.
Oh, yes.
Interesting story. Go ahead.
But this festival. So my sister was able to get tickets, and to give an idea, this is traditional. This is more like if you'd go somewhere where like country music is not like a pop country, but like let's say square dance. But it's like a cultural heritage. Happens every 5 years. Choirs and dance troops practice for it, and they come together and put up these big concerts and shows, and tickets sell out literally like to Taylor Swift. Like my sister was on the computer, and she was like, I am 16,000 in the queue. She's like, how are we gonna get tickets? Well, we were able to get like grand rehearsal, which is basically like the final concert, but they have few things, but like everybody's still dressed up. We have traditional outfits. It's a small, you'll find that in Europe, no matter how small the country, they're so proud of their heritage. There's so much history, and they're holding on to it. Like, one of the peculiar things I found in the U.S., they like, building, let's go down, build a new one. Right. We're like, there's 3 rocks standing, it's a cultural monument, stick some wood, prop it up. You go back, we have castles, and we have some palaces the city, I grew up in Riga, which is the capital. The churches were built in 1200s. The country was found in the city was found in 1201. The country itself is relatively new, kind of came into existence after World War I, and then we had a stint with being part of Soviet Union, and then regain our independence in 2001.
The scale is so different here. We don't understand that.
Yes.
Americans, like,
Yes.
It's a different scale, and I get that. Like, keep those 3 stones because we're talking centuries.
Yes, and you will notice this. Like I've gone to Ireland, and you notice very much this. Like you find these smaller places, and you realize, like, especially if you look at smaller countries that have been subjugated to a larger country or have had the history of being part of something else, they're trying to hold on to that identity and that history. It's very meaningful to, fall back and see what we've gone through, what we held on to. And in a way, in Europe, Americans think it's like America is a mixing pot. Like my heritage, I know there's like German and Polish and Lithuanian in it. So people still travel. The borders are changing.
That is half the size of Michigan. You
have to
get out of here.
And you have to know know world history because nobody could find it on a map. So that was one of the things. I was like, I'll come here, and they're like, where is it?
Yeah.
I've had people who've asked me if Latvia is in Latin America, and I'm like, I know it starts with the same letter, but no, a little bit different.
So speaking of European travel, just because it's interesting, have you traveled most of Europe, and have you gotten to, are there countries you're on your bucket list?
I have countries on my bucket list. I would love to go probably to like Prague and Czech Republic in Europe. I'd love to go to Japan, or having certain. We went to Iceland, and I would go back in a heartbeat. I'd go back in a heartbeat. It was amazing. And this is coming from a person who's not loving Michigan weather. True. And we went in the summer when sun doesn't really set, and went on a tour and saw orcas. I've talked to some people who have been to Alaska, and it has certain similarities. They're both on the volcanic they're on a continental divide. You can touch both American continent and European continent there. And it's just an extraordinary place. I'd go back in a heartbeat. They're actually having some active volcano.
Let me get there.
I will say with the U.S., I feel like people are so overlooked. This is such a vast country. And I think like for a European, like even Michigan, when I first came here, I was like, ooh, pictured rocks. And my husband's like, 10 hours. 10 hours. Which you don't realize as a European, you could be in 2 hours in a different country. There's obviously larger countries, but I really want to go to Hawaii. I feel like that's just paradise on earth, and those kind of things. Just there's just so much to see.
There's so much to see. I agree.
So we do know there are so many sides to Ilze. Is there anything that we should talk about that we have not talked about? That if we're going to wrap up, we're like, dang it, why didn't you tell us that when we were on air?
Well, that's when you invite me back.
Okay.
I think there's we've covered a lot. Like, yes, there are greeting cards. So I would say support like local artists. I think there's the various ideologies, whether you don't like go super commercial and shop on Black Friday or shop small. But if you support your local stores, you support Essence or Fed or Honcho, or you support local artists that are here, you're putting money in the pockets of people that's really making a difference. Whether it's like,
I think there's been a lot of statistics too about how much more of the money that you're spending at local businesses comes back directly into your community.
Yeah. But even like, let's say something like Amazon, look for who's the seller. Because there are a lot of small businesses that are actually on Amazon, because it's not just the Amazon; it's also a marketplace for a smaller seller.
Are any of your cards on Amazon currently?
No.
Have you ever done that?
I have not done that, but that's where like something like Zazzle comes in, or Redbubble. It's a marketplace for artists. So you put like, I'll upload like let's say this greeting card. And somebody can actually go and change what's inside. They can change the greeting inside. They can add the name. They can add certain things and make it personal. So there's like this base artwork, like having even this foiled one, and you add your family name. You add your own photo.
Speaking of this, do you sell your cards at Essence?
I don't sell through them directly. And one of the reasons with these companies, I really don't hold inventory, which is not out of the question. But the beauty of print on demand is whenever you want it, you click this, and you get something very personalized to you. So
otherwise, then you have to hold so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And the paper is this funny thing, it doesn't like rain. There are certain products that I think are more, you can work more with having an inventory, where certain ones are more perishable, and you kind of have to have controlled environment.
I was thinking about all the creative things that you do. It sounds like you're obviously a very creative,
multi-passionate.
Multi-passionate. That's what
me.
multi-passionate or multifaceted. There's
Yes.
there's amazing TED talk about it, about of like
Ooh, a TED Talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is.
Yeah.
I was wondering, do you have a favorite art form that you like to do? Like if you have free time and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna go do blank. Is it like
I
your favorite
think-
kid? I don't know.
I don't have a favorite kid.
You do or don't? You don't. Okay. Good.
I fall back to watercolor because I love it, and I find that everywhere I end up integrating flowers. I have such great passion. My grandmother used to have a garden that bloomed from spring to late fall, and I kind of end up having my flower bed in a very similar way. And I notice no matter what I do, a lot of times I end up leaning into florals because it's such a universal thing. The flowers are just, in a certain way, they're so like fleeting and so beautiful. So,
Some watercolors.
Watercolor is very fluid. But people have said like, oh, you color outside the lines. I'm more like, what lines? I'm very
I
kind
feel
of
like
fluid.
that's an Ilze quote. We should copyright that.
Yeah.
Or trademark it, whatever's allowed. What lines? Oh gosh.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, I feel like that makes sense based on this being your like OG piece. It's
One
all
of the
about
OGs, yeah, I
flowers.
had one of this, and then I had a jellyfish, which I do not have like printout of, but
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Fascinating. So we're gonna all go to Iceland, and then we're gonna hop over to Latvia.
Please do. Amazing place.
Do a little tour. I feel like you
With
could
our
be
one
a
word
guide.
we know.
Oh, yeah.
We're ready.
You could be our guide. I don't think.
Yeah. Most people speak English in the city, and
I was gonna ask. Okay, so Latvian is the first language.
correct.
English. I'm assuming a lot of people speak English there.
Well, a lot of people speak English, but because we're part of Soviet Union, my second language was Russian.
Russian,
So
yes.
English is.
Okay.
I'm fluent, obviously, in my native tongue, but I'm fluent in speaking, but writing is no longer. Reading takes. It's more of like first grade level.
Yeah.
Reading, writing. I can get by, but like I do have that, which was just part of how I grew up.
So kids now in school are they learning?
Oh, so my kids are out of school, but my daughter did Spanish. Actually, she graduated Clarkson High School with Spanish 5, so she loved Spanish. And in college was considering minoring in it, but it needed a foreign study. And then there's this link where you can travel in the last few years, so I kind of put a damper on that.
That's such a bummer.
But she loves Spanish. She understands Latvian, but.
That's awesome. So how do we say goodbye in Latvian?
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap or something like that.
If you say goodbye, it would be uzredzēšanos. So that's my.
Say it again.
Uzredzēšanos.
It was rendition.
It is, yeah. It would be like, we'll see you later.
That's
We'll see you again.
later?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Uzredzēšanos.
You're
You can just say ciao.
Ciao.
We use ciao very, very frequently.
Everywhere. In
Yeah.
Chile they use chow.
Well, yeah, it's super common. We will say ciao. Very.
Okay.
I like
So.
that. All right.
Well,
Okay.
thank you for coming to chat with us.
Oh,
It's been so fun.
my pleasure.
Everyone's right. You are very multifaceted, multi-passionate,
Passionate.
interesting person. Lots of fun stories.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll have you back.
We'll have you
Of
back.
course.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What do you say, ciao?
Ciao.
I was gonna say have a good weekend. It's not. It's only.
It's okay. It's an early.
Tuesday.
It's an early weekend. Thanksgiving's a weekend.
It feels like it should be the weekend. Well, it kind of is. The kids
It
are
kinda
school
is.
tomorrow and all that stuff. So I actually was curious. In Latvia, the kids are